Mobile phone footage shows armed riot police in an isolated Crimean village. They blocked the streets to the fury of local residents. Local Tatar men are arrested. They're accused of being members of an illegal Islamic group. "Brother, we are with you," one man shouts. Activists say it's the latest act of repression against Crimea's Tatar community.
Today, another act of intimidation was carried out against Crimean Tatars, Crimean Muslims. 5 homes were searched by security forces. A criminal case was opened in connection with participation in Hizb ut-Tahrir. The searches are a violation of the law.
The group Hizb ut-Tahrir describes itself as a global political organization which aims to establish an Islamic state. It's not banned in Ukraine, but it is banned by Russia, which annexed Crimea early in 2014.
We have taken preventative measures and warned Muslims that this group is banned. Everything connected with it is against the law. The latest action is part of curbing the illegal activities of this extremist organization.
The Tatars were deported from Crimea by Stalin during World War II. It was another 40 years before they were allowed to return. Many of them are opposed to being ruled by Russia. Ukraine's government says its Western allies should put pressure on Russia to stop targeting the Tatar community.
This is another crime in the long chain of Russian crimes in the occupied Crimea. We consider it as a violation, gross violation of human rights, and we urge the Russian Federation to halt repression against Crimean Tatars and also ethnic Ukrainians who are living there.
The Tatars of Crimea may want to be free of Russia, but the Russian grip on Crimea remains firm. Rob Matheson, Al Jazeera.
Police now on the trail of a man they believe killed a man in Midtown this week. Tulsa police searching for 20-year-old Joseph Johnson. Only on 2, Corley Peel shows us why the 25-year-old victim's family says what they witnessed was an organized crime. Corley?
Karen, the shooting happened at this house behind me in broad daylight on Monday. Several witnesses say they saw a suspect shoot Cato, and one of those witnesses was his fiancée.
His last words to me was, "Baby, you're going to be okay and I love you." I just can't stop thinking about it.
Ashley Porter says she was with her fiancé, Cuevas Cato, and her sister on Monday when a suspect shot Cato 12 times using 2 different guns, then stood over him and shot him again.
He jumped in his car and he sped off. The only thing I can think about doing is running next to him and holding him, trying to stop the blood. It was so much.
Tulsa police say the shooter was 20-year-old Joseph Johnson. They say the men got into an argument over a car deal. But Porter believes Cato's murder was a setup.
We have messages stating to come pick the car up. We also had him call us and tell us to pick the car up, that they were getting ready to move, and since the car's key didn't no longer work, the chip broke in it, that we were going to have it towed back over here.
Nobody went down there with any hostility. They were told to come and get their car, and that's what they were doing, and things just went the wrong way.
Now Porter and her sister want answers.
I can't eat. I can't sleep. I just keep seeing it over and over again in my head, how he shot him. He didn't deserve to die like that.
Porter and her sister think Johnson could be headed to Louisiana. They're asking for anyone who might know where he is to call police. Reporting live, Corley Peel, 2 Works for You.
In the latest fighting, 12 people have been killed. State-run media says 4 soldiers and 8 armed men died in clashes over Tuesday and Wednesday. The area is mainly populated by Muslim Rohingya. Security along the nearby border with Bangladesh has been stepped up after 9 police officers were killed on Sunday in coordinated attacks on 3 border posts. 6 suspects are being held in connection with those incidents. 4 years ago, sectarian violence between the Rohingya and Buddhist nationals killed more than 100 people. Tens of thousands of Rohingya were sent into displacement camps across Rakhine State. Rohingya as an ethnic group, and Buddhist nationalists view them as illegal migrants from Bangladesh. The UN is urging troops and civilians to exercise restraint following the latest violence, calling the situation a delicate juncture for Rakhine. A new advisory commission headed by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan made its first visit to the state in September. The commission was set up by Aung San Suu Kyi's government. She has been criticized for ignoring the plight of the Rohingya since taking office in March. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Bangkok.
A push for answers and forgiveness from a tight-knit Indianapolis family. The family of Trey Spencer, better known to them as Trey Man. Because as they tell me, Trey wasn't just a man of love. He was a man built on his family.
This is a picture of Trey when he was a little guy.
And to Martine Spencer, that's the same smile 23-year-old Trey Spencer had up until the end.
They shot an innocent person that had nothing to do with anything.
Trey was one of 2 people shot in Broad Ripple last week after a disturbance from a nearby business spilled onto Guilford near Broad Ripple Avenue in the overnight hours. Trey would not survive.
We don't understand.
A family man, Trey's grandmother and cousins are still in mourning.
This is how it stayed from when they were small all the way up until now.
We was together every day. All we did was eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling and go to school.
He'd learned to wrestle from his father. A former Pike High wrestler, his dad was not only his coach, but also his mentor.
His father was his world, and to take him from that man like that.
To take him, they say, was simply cruel.
Trey's family amazingly say they forgive whoever did this. They only hope that person will turn themselves in. A suspect, though, has not been named.
ABC 15. Breaking news.
With right now coming out of Central Phoenix, a red light runner apparently that caused the crashes in the hospital right now after plowing into a semi. The victim, 17 years old, Justin Pizzera, is on the scene. Justin, I want to ask you first and foremost, are the roads still closed? What's the situation?
Chris, the roads are still closed, and they're going to be closed for quite some time. And you were talking about that red light. You can see it right here at Central and Glendale. That's the red light that 17-year-old ran. But then look over here at the semi. You can just see that car right under that semi right there. We do know that 17-year-old was taken to the hospital with head injuries. He is in a very serious condition at this point. But they say that semi was only going about 30 miles an hour. As for how fast that teen was going at this point, it's not clear. Of course, investigators are going to have to come out here. And one of the holdups with this crash right here is that it takes a special investigator to come out here because this is a commercial vehicle. So we have to wait for those investigators to come out here. So we are expecting extensive this road, to be closed for quite some time as those investigators come out here. So we're going to stay out here and monitor this, and hopefully we'll get an update. Chris?
All right, Justin Pizzera starting us off with that breaking news. Dana and Danielle already shaping up to be a busy morning.
A Cairns mother has been stabbed to death while her children were at school. Police were called to the house around 3 o'clock this afternoon. The 38-year-old victim couldn't be revived. Her 48-year-old partner and alleged attacker was taken to hospital suffering serious injuries. Their youngest children, who arrived at the scene after police, are being cared for by relatives.
This is the main market in Jarablos. Life for the people here appears to be getting back to normal. Many of the shops on this main street went out of business when ISIL was in control of the town. Now they've reopened and things are picking up. And these are the men who helped rescue the town's people from ISIL. Most of them are in their 20s. They're fighters in the Free Syrian Army. Supported by the Turkish military, they now control this border town. But despite having to defeat ISIL to capture Jarablus, the rebels say they are under no illusion as to who their enemy is.
Our fight is against ISIL and the Assad regime. And there are two sides on the same coin. Assad kills women and children with barrel bombs and tanks. ISIL kidnaps and beheaded them.
ISIL ruled Jarablus using fear. This local government building was turned into its central prison. Even places of learning weren't spared. And although there is an attempt to rebuild what ISIL destroyed, the memories remain fresh in people's minds. Locals say that these classrooms used to be used as torture chambers by ISIL when it controlled the town. But since Jarablus has been liberated, in a large part due to Turkish military intervention, a process of renovation has begun in order to turn these classrooms and transform them to become a place to build a brighter future for Syria's children. At the local hospital, doctors are still treating people with battle wounds. Jarablus may be free from ISIL, but Syria remains hostage to a continuing civil war. Here, territory changes hands sometimes on a monthly basis. No place is safe, especially not from airstrikes and barrel bombs. That's why opposition fighters say a safe zone is needed.
We need a safe zone, a no-fly zone, so that civilians can be protected. Then they won't have to seek refuge in other countries. If there are more safe zones, then everyone will return to Syria. There won't be any refugee camps anymore.
Those who are most in need of such a safe zone are Syria's children. Among them, 10-year-old Jum'a, who tells me he wishes to join the army when he grows up so he can defeat ISIL and Bashar al-Assad. For a boy who's lived most of his life in the middle of such a bloody war, his childhood has already been destroyed. And unless the fighting stops soon, so will his future. Jamal al-Shayal, Al Jazeera, Jarablus, Northern Syria.
The jury in the murder trial of mother of 4, Tia Landers, has been played phone recordings where one of the accused threatens to smash her skull in. Ms Landers' badly beaten body was found in the Beerburrum State Forest in July 2014. Prosecutors say John Harris and Linda Appleton murdered her as punishment over a theft.
Hurricane Matthew is now blamed for at least 36 deaths in the southeast, 20 of them in North Carolina. Goldman Sachs estimates U.S. property damage will be $10 billion. Manuel Bojorquez is in the flood zone.
Drone video shows the wall of water moving through Grifton, North Carolina. We rode along Main Street with Police Chief Brian Cawley.
This isn't residual flooding. This is water that's still rising here.
This is water that's still rising, right.
How high has it come up?
It has risen about 20 inches here.
People who evacuated, like Cassandra Roach, can do nothing but watch.
It wasn't even this far up, and now I'm like, oh my God. It's overwhelming.
The Contentnia Creek is nearing 24 feet. It's one of several swollen rivers and streams in eastern North Carolina that are still funneling the more than a foot of rain from Hurricane Matthew. Since Sunday, there have been 80 air rescues and thousands are displaced. Rising waters threaten to shut down bridges in several communities. Crews are still working to shore up the dam above the town of Spring Lake.
There's nothing I can do. I mean, just stand here, watch and wait and pray.
Manuel, when are those rivers expected to crest?
Scott, some rivers are not expected to crest until the weekend. The concern here in Grifton is that even if the water has reached its peak, it may not recede for several days.
Manuel Bojorquez in the flood zone. Manuel, thank you.